It's October, and so it's time to take out your weapons. The Rosary, as you probably heard from many, many people, friends, family, and saints, that it is a very, very powerful weapon. And I attribute so many of the graces I've received in my life thanks to the Rosary. And since October is the month of the Holy Rosary, I thought it would be fitting. So what is the Rosary? Well, first of all, what is not? Let's talk about that first. The Rosary is not a set of vain prayers, vain repetitive prayers, and it is not worshiping Mary. Prayer, whether it's Rosary or any other prayer that you even say personally, just words that you say to God, could be said in vain. It's the way you pray which makes it not in vain. And repetition is not bad. Repeating I love you to your loved ones every single day is not done in vain, should not be done in vain, and it's a good thing. And just as Christ said a prayer 3 times, did that make it in vain? Did that make the prayer in vain? Was that too repetitive? Was that too much? So if you're talking about it's repetition, you don't have to pray a million times the same thing over and over again. Well, then that would mean that you could just pray once in your entire life, whenever that is. Maybe you were a Christian, you became a Christian when you were little, or maybe you became a Christian when in your 50s. But regardless, that would mean that you could just pray once in your life, and that would be good for all eternity. So prayer, even in itself, is a repetitive thing that we do, and it is essential for having this communication with God. And so what is the Rosary? The Rosary is a set of prayers, just like, so back in the day, the Desert Fathers would pray the 150 Psalms, and they would actually use rocks and pebbles to keep count, and they would do that throughout the day. And so the Rosary is the same, in which it is 150 prayers, but it is Mary's Psalter. And these prayers are meditative prayers, contemplative prayers, and the prayers that you pray in them, you might think, okay, why is it always Mary, Mary, Mary? But it isn't about Mary. It is through Mary. When you're praying the Rosary, you are meditating on Christ's life. It is Christocentric. Every decade that you do, I'm going to talk about how to pray the Rosary in a bit, but every decade that you pray, you meditate on the mysteries of Christ's life. It is through Mary that we get closer to him. So for example, the joyful mysteries, you have first the Annunciation, when the angel Gabriel announced to Mary that she was going to be the mother of God incarnate, essential God incarnate. And then there's the Visitation, when she visits St. Elizabeth, the Nativity, and then presentation of Jesus in the temple to consecrate him to God, and then also finding Jesus in the temple 3 days after he was lost. And so that's just the joyful mysteries. That is one Rosary. Those are some of the mysteries that you would meditate on while you're praying the Rosary. It is Christocentric. It is about Christ. You are not worshiping Mary when you pray the Rosary. The Rosary, Mary, like I've said before, is the closest person to Jesus ever. The closest human being who had ever lived to Jesus. And she brought the Word incarnate through her body. God brought Christ in the world, in the flesh, through Mary. And so, if you think about it that way, the Rosary is getting closer to Christ through Mary. Christ is the sole mediator. Yes, he is the sole mediator. Mary is there to help guide us to him, to get closer to him. Like I've said, I attribute many of the graces I've received in my life thanks to the Rosary. And I would like to share a particular moment in my life when the Rosary really helped me. So I had already converted. I was officially in the church, confirmed in the church by this time. And my grandmother was at the hospital. She was in and out of the hospital. And there was this one time they brought her to the hospital and she fell into a coma. And I visited her with my siblings and my dad. It was my dad's mom. And it had been 3 days since she was in this coma. And she hadn't woken up yet. And something in me compelled me to pray. Something told me to pray the Rosary, pray the Rosary. And my grandmother, like I've said in the past, my dad's mom was a very devout Catholic. And she, although I didn't see her pray all the time, she really loved God and she loved Our Lady. I got out my Rosary and I started praying the Rosary. So I was praying the Rosary, and in the middle of the second last mystery, I heard my sister say, "Ate, ate, wake up, wake up." Ate means big sister in Tagalog. Ate, Nanay's waking up. Nanay's waking up. And I couldn't open my eyes. I just remember hearing that. My sister saying that her eyes were opening, and I was holding my Rosary, and I just kept praying, and I was bawling my eyes out when I heard my sister say that my grandma was waking up, and just tears flowed through my face. I couldn't stop crying for about 5 minutes, and then I finally was able to look at my grandmother, and I'm sure it was great to wake up after 3 days seeing, her grandchildren at the foot of her bed at the hospital. And it was just a great day. And she ate like she had a big appetite. I mean, she hadn't eaten for 3 days. So yeah, this was a very powerful moment in my life with regards to the Rosary. Our Lady can never say no to a sincere request. The sun is gone. Sorry if it's a little dark. Our Lady can never say no. And we got to utilize this prayer. You might say it's a coincidence. It's a coincidence that she woke up. It's been 3 days, and anybody can wake up from a coma anytime. But to that, a coincidence after a coincidence after a coincidence is not a coincidence anymore. This was not the only time that the power of the Rosary came into my life. This was not the first time, but this was one of the first times where I really felt its power and Our Lady being there and praying for me and for my grandmother. And Our Lady can't help but say yes, and Christ can't help say yes to his mom, and God can't help say yes to his daughter, Mary. It is through her, but thanks to God that she exists, that we have Christ. So let's get down to brass tacks. I hope the sun comes back. My Rosary is white, so you can see it. So in terms of praying the Rosary, you have the cross here. There's one bead here for the Apostles' Creed. I got ahead of myself. So actually you do the sign of the cross with the cross and the Apostles' Creed. And then the first bead is for the Our Father, the Pater Noster. The 3 beads for faith, hope, and charity. And you pray the Ave Marias. And then you have the Glory Be bead right here. And then this is when you start the mystery with an Our Father and then 10 Hail Marys, and that is done 5 times. So for example, like I said, so I use the joyful mysteries. Let's use the sorrowful mysteries, for example. So the first sorrowful mystery would be the agony in the garden, and you think about Christ and what he was experiencing in the garden. So you might, quick side note, you might say, okay, why 10? Why not just 1? Why can't you just say it once? Well, 10 is a good number to meditate, to think about what happened at that time. If you only had 1 or even 2 or 3, that's way too short. You can't really meditate on anything that long. And like I said, it's Mary's Psalter, and there are 150 prayers. So just like 150 Psalms, 150 Hail Marys. So if it were the sorrowful mysteries, you'd go with the Pater Noster, our Father, Ave Maria, Hail Marys, and at the end you would say Glory be, and you'd say the Fatima prayer. Oh my Jesus, forgive us our sins, save us from the fires of hell, lead all souls into heaven, especially those in need of thy mercy. And then you start again with the second mystery of the sorrowful mysteries, which is the flagellation. And then you continue, then it's the crowning of the thorns, then the carrying of the cross, and then it goes to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So it is his life. The Rosary, through Mary, we get Jesus. She leads us to Jesus, our Savior. The Rosary is a meditation on Jesus' life. At the end of the five mysteries, you say the Salve Regina, Hail Holy Queen, and then you do the sign of the cross again to finish, kiss your rosary, and that's it. And if you don't have a rosary, that's okay. You have your portable rosaries with you all the time, which are your fingers. If you've never done a rosary before, just do a decade if that suits you. Don't feel bad if during that time it's hard to meditate. It's hard to just be quiet and listen and just be with God. But I find that having like an image of our Blessed Mother holding Christ, like a Pietà, or even, I know they have here, you can find these at Catholic stores online and stuff, but these are little, they show the mysteries, and there are wrong side, but there are images. For example, this is the Joyful Mysteries, images that can help you. I know that looking at an image helps me visualize Christ's life at that moment in that mystery. And yeah, I think these ones, I've also put a link in the description to a downloadable prayer booklet that you can use if you don't know the prayers. And I've linked that down below. This one has Latin and in French. But yeah, and if you prefer to do it in Latin, that's cool too. I prefer to do it in Latin just because it is a holy language. This month, I'm going to attempt. I actually just started today, and what are we today? I don't know. We're near the end of September, but I feel like I've been called to pray the whole rosary every day. And so that's what I'm going to do this month. I'm going to challenge myself because I've said in the past I have had trouble praying, but I find that there are moments in the day that I just waste my time completely. So I am challenging myself to pray the rosary, the whole rosary, every day. I'm going to stick to the traditional mysteries, so the 3 mysteries, joyful, sorrowful, and glorious mysteries for now, because I know them by heart. I'm not against the luminous mysteries at all. If someone prays it, if people decide to pray the luminous mysteries and I'm there, I will pray with them. But for me personally, when I do the rosary, I just stick to the 3. So yeah, I'm going to do that. So if you'd like to join me in that challenge, please comment below. I will pray for you. And please pray for me. I will do a follow-up video sometime next month, about that. So, God willing, I'll be able to do it. I tried it today. I've been able to do the 3 this morning. One question I would like to address that I think people might have in mind is, does praying the rosary make me love Mary too much? No. You can never love Mary too much, just as Christ could never love his own mother too much. Like I said, Mary brings us closer to Christ. She does not lead us away from Christ. It is through her that God brought Jesus Christ, the Word incarnate, into the world. And she is there to intercede for us. And she just can't say no to her children who sincerely ask her. I'm not saying that Mary is the person who grants your wishes. No. She's there to intercede, just like at the wedding at Cana, when she said, there's no more wine. Jesus, do something. If you could do something, that would be great. And he couldn't say no to his mother. Woman, which was high respect, addressing her in the highest of respect. It is not my time, but he changed his mind and he did it for his mom. And so Mary is there for us. She is there. She is alive. The same with all the saints. A saint just means someone who's made it to heaven. And Mary is the highest saint. She is not God. She is the highest saint. She is Our Lady. And she's here to help us, to intercede for us. All we need to do is pray. So if you've never prayed the Rosary, let me know why. You should. Why? Is there something that's stopping you from praying the Rosary? If you do you pray the whole thing? Do you have any tips on praying the whole thing? I tried it today. I did it today, and it's not even 2:00. So it is possible. And if you would like to share any, if it's not too personal, if there are any graces that you received through this while praying the Rosary, please let me know in the comments below. Let us know in the comments below. Let us know how Our Lady has interceded for you and helped you in your life by bringing you closer to Christ. My name is Alexis. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. God bless.